Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ange if you haven't met me before, and today we're going to be talking about all the plants that I do not like. So I asked you guys on Instagram if you had any video ideas for me, and a lovely person commented this idea, so thank you so much. So if you are interested in recommending me any video ideas that you'd like to see, then definitely check out my Instagram. I'm going to just start off this video by saying this is just completely my opinion, and if you have these plants or you love these plants, then that is totally fine and you keep loving them, but these are just the plants that I think are just not that cute, or they're overrated or expensive for what they are, whatever the case may be. I also want to say if you enjoy planty videos, then definitely hit subscribe because I make planty content on my channel, and let's just get into all the plants I don't like. Alright, so the first plant I absolutely do not like, or probably in this case I actually despise, is the Begonia ferox or Fero, or I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I will pop it on the screen here. And I absolutely hate this plant, and I know that is a very strong feeling towards like a plant. It's not even like a person or anything, but it just freaks me out. So I do actually really love like wacky looking plants, hairy looking plants, things like that, but there's something about this plant that just gives me the absolute heebie-jeebies. So you can see here, it is just really creepy looking. There are like these like little points on it. They kind of look like little circles and holes, and I don't know about you, but I have that weird thing where if I look at holes or something with lots of circles, it really just freaks me out. It makes my body like super itchy. I'm looking at pictures of it now and I'm getting just so grossed out. I don't even want to look at it. It's really weird because I have a few other begonias that look kind of weird. They kind of look like spider legs and things like that, and I love that, but there's just something about these circles that just freak me out. And I know this one is actually quite rare in Australia anyway. I don't actually see it sold at all, and I'm sure if I did find it, it would be a pretty penny just because of how like rare it is or uncommon, and I definitely am not going to put up the funds for that. Another reason I don't like this is probably a little bit biased, but I'm not great at begonia. I've killed so many begonia, especially Rex begonia, and a lot of my begonias do get like fungal infections and things like that, so I have to treat it for that kind of stuff very often, and I find the whole begonia plant family just to be a massive headache. So that's probably another reason I'm just not really into this plant. It's just freaking me out. Let me know if you feel the same way when you look at this plant, because it is just so dang creepy. Alright, so the next plant that I'm chatting about, I've put on this list not because I don't like the look of it or not because I despise it like that begonia, but I do think that it is overpriced for what it is, and that is the Alocasia mellow. And here in Australia, I have seen this plant go from like $100 to $300 in that kind of price range, depending on how big it is. And if I look at the plant objectively, I can see why people may like it. Like, it's got those greeny gray hues to the leaves. I'm normally a sucker for that. And then it's got those like really intricate indents. But I just think for the price, in comparison to what you get, it just doesn't really relate for me, because I have a Alocasia silver dragon, and I think that for the price and how pretty that one is, it's a lot better. So I'm going to grab that one, you can have a look. So this is my stunning Alocasia silver dragon. It is actually double planted with an Alocasia dragon scale, so if you see two different kinds of leaves, that is why. But this is the silver dragon leaf here, and I just think that is just so much more stunning than the Alocasia mellow, and I do feel like it gives you a very similar vibe. So it's got like that bluey kind of silvery kind of hue to the leaves, and I just love the intense veining that this one has. Like the Alocasia mellow, it definitely doesn't have dramatic veining, it just has those intricate designs. But this one in Australia goes for like $20 to $30 I've seen. I mean, I've seen them for like $50 as well, but you can definitely get them for $20 to $30. I saw them plant shopping in my latest video. They were like $20, $30 there. And for that price, I really don't think you can beat it. I mean, just look at this. It just looks so intense. I'm looking at it on the camera. It looks so beautiful. Honestly, I find this is one of the easier alocasias that I care for anyway. Like, it has gotten spider mites, I will be honest. All alocasias of mine do get spider mites at some point, but it didn't completely destroy this one. I treated it and it has been gone for quite a few months, and I do find it just puts out a lot of leaves and it has that really full appearance. So I'm absolutely in love with this. We are getting a lot of babies growing in the soil here, so that leaf there is a little baby popping up. I love how alocasias just create little pups for you, and then you can either separate them out or keep them in the plant to make them look nice and full. That's kind of what I like. I really want it to look really full. So I did just want to give you guys another option if you were looking at the alocasia mellow and you wanted the same vibe, but you didn't want to pay that really high price point, then definitely check out the alocasia silver dragon. Alright, so the next plant on my list, I think that this plant was really popular maybe like 1 to 2 years ago. I saw everyone trying to get it, and I wouldn't say it's an exactly like a rare plant, but it is more uncommon. Like, I don't see it at every plant nursery. I've never seen it in Bunnings, that kind of thing, but it's not actually that expensive if you do want to get your hands on it, and that is the Oxalis triangularis. I'm guessing I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it is that kind of like clover shape. It does have some really beautiful purpley, pinky leaves, and it can get super full and bushy. Like, I have seen them looking like a little mound of just leaves. So I really do like the color of this plant. Don't get me wrong, the purpley kind of hue is absolutely beautiful and super unique in houseplants. But when I look at this plant, I just think of a weed. I think of the clovers outside. I think of just something that you want to get rid of because it's infesting your garden. I don't look at this plant and think, oh, that is a stunning plant and I must kind of have it on my plant shelf and show it to the world, if that makes sense. I just don't see the hype or the love surrounding this plant. And then it does also bloom as well. It has these really insignificant white little flowers that kind of remind me of like a jasmine flower. Really, it's not that special. So I really don't understand why people like it. I may be wrong on this, but I do think it does go dormant when it gets colder, because I know you can buy those little corms or bulbs or whatever and grow them out that way. So for a plant that's not going to stay full and bushy and beautiful all year round, I don't really get it. But let me know where you are in your country. Is this plant highly loved, or is it a plant that is just kind of looked over? Because for me personally, I'm looking over it. I don't want it. Alright, so the next plant on my list is definitely varied in terms of availability all over the world. So I know here in Australia, it's really not that rare. You can get it from plant nurseries and Bunnings from time to time, but I know in the States it is a little bit harder to get and a little bit more expensive, and that is the Ficus shiveriana. I think there are a few other names for it, but that is the one that I'm most familiar with. That is the one that I see it getting called in Australia, and I don't like this plant. I think when I first saw it, I was trying to like it and it was popular, and I was like, well, maybe I do like it. Maybe I do need it. But I was holding back to see if I actually liked it or if I was just getting sucked up into the hype of a new type of plant. And yeah, I realized I don't like it. Just looking at the variegation, it looks very messy to me. It's very like mottled, and I don't really love a mottled variegation. I think I prefer a more clean segmental variegation. I also don't really love the colors. Like that yellowy green, I don't really like that. It kind of just makes me think that the plant is sick. I know that that's silly because you can get yellow variegation and stuff, but in my mind just thinks it doesn't look healthy. And for me personally, I think I've lost my love for ficus in general. I used to have a bunch of different rubber plants and ficus when I was starting out my plant journey because they were really accessible. But now the only ficus I have is my fill leaf fig that lives in my bedroom because I think it is a really nice statement piece. But I just don't see myself really getting any more ficus in the future. Cut to me like 6 months later getting a bunch of ficus, but right now I'm not really into it. And yeah, also looking at these leaves, I don't really understand like the spottiness. I don't really like that spottiness. Let me know, what do you think about this plant? Do you think that this plant is beautiful? Is it a plant that's on your list? I'm really curious because I've seen quite a few people kind of gushing over this plant and really wanting it, but yeah, it's just not for me. Alright, so the next plant that I'm going to talk about is another plant that is widely different in terms of availability all over the world. Here in Australia, you can get them from Bunnings for like $10 most of the time, but then I've seen in the States people are paying like $100, that kind of thing, and that is the philodendron pink princess. princess. And if you've seen other videos on my channel, you probably know how I feel about this pink princess, but I couldn't make this video and not put it on this list. And the reason why it's on this list is because I don't think the pink princess actually looks like what you see on Instagram and things like that. I'm looking at pictures on Instagram and they are absolutely stunning. That segmental pink, it's beautiful, it's bright, there's so much pink, but in reality, a lot of the pink princesses I see either in store or the one I have is just not great. It's just like this pooey brown, burgundy kind of color. It doesn't put out much pink. So I've actually got one of my pink princesses here. I have another larger one that is outside on my balcony. It is completely not pink at all. But I did use that plant to take some of the nodes, and some of the nodes did have some pink on it, so I created a bunch of different little baby plants that are in this pot now. So this is what my pink princess looks like. You can see that the last leaf is super pink. So, you know, I might have to eat my words later on if this does turn really pink. But looking at most of the other leaves, they will look like this. The other plant I have outside is completely this color. You see, it's just like that pooey, darker, dull color. I just am not a fan. Like, I'm really hoping this kind of prevails throughout, but as soon as the leaves kind of mature, they're not bright, they're not pretty. And you compare it to Instagram, it doesn't look like that. And it's not just mine. I'm not crazy. At Bunnings, they are all like this color again. They might have a tiny bit of pink. So for example, this leaf here, there is like a tiny sliver of pink, but the rest of it is just like maroon. It just looks like a normal like philodendron rojo Congo. So I don't see the hype on this plant. If this plant were to give me beautiful pink leaves all the time, then yes, I would be all team pink princess. But because of the disappointment that I feel every time I see one, I just don't like this plant. Let's hope that mine grows to be beautiful and I can have one of those Instagram-worthy pink princesses at some point in my life, but I'm not holding my breath. Alright, so the last plant on this list of plants that I don't really like is probably going to be a little bit controversial because I would say this plant gets a lot of love online, and that is the philodendron Florida Ghost. So objectively looking at it, yes, it's beautiful. I do have a normal philodendron Florida. I love the leaf shape, and the Florida Ghost is the same. They have the same leaves, but I don't know if I would want to pay the price for a ghost that is going to have beautiful leaves when they come out and then revert back to kind of being more normal Florida afterwards. I just don't personally think that that will make me super happy to look at, especially if that plant is not putting out new leaves all the time. You know what I mean? So I think personally I really like the Florida Beauty a lot more. That one has the same Florida shaped leaves, but the variegation will stay. So it is more of like a traditionally variegated plant. The leaves won't come out white and cream and then like revert back to more of a green color. Looking at it objectively on how to spend my money, if I can have a plant that is variegated and beautiful all the time in comparison to a plant that is just beautiful when it puts out new leaves, I think I would choose that one. Sure, if someone was like, hey, do you want a Florida Ghost? I would be like, sure, I'll take it, but I don't think I'm going to be seeking it and trying to get it in my collection, especially when the prices of these plants are so high. In Australia, they go for the hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I'm just not willing to pay that price for something that is not beautiful all the time. Alright guys, so those are all the plants that I have on my list of plants that I don't really like. Let me know what you think about my choices, and again, I'm sorry if you have these plants. I definitely don't mean to be offensive. This is just my opinion. But if you enjoyed this video, then definitely hit the thumbs up because it really helps out my channel. And if you haven't already, then hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Alright, bye!